somebody to help you? And if you need to see the answers in the front.
I did part of an art. For this one to get 2x squared, you need 2x and then x is 2x, plus x is going to be 2x squared. Yeah.
Good job, AJ.
Thank you.
Clumsy. Okay, so the answer is posted there. You have a question, you can go up the left. You can more welcome to take a picture later. But we're gonna cover what we're gonna cover today because let's just review last week. So you should know that already, but I just want to reaffirm so that they, especially distributing the negative sign, is going to be the key. Usually I'll give you a negative sign. So right now, today we're going to talk about complex fraction. And there are 3 simple cases of complex fraction here that in the past we learned something like this. We learned that 5 divided by 3, that's equal to 5 over 3, right? In the past, we learned this. And then we say, hey, there's something that we can do. That's something that we can do here. But instead, we have a fraction over fraction. That's what happened in the first week. So in the first week, we talked about this kind of situation. But we didn't talk about in detail. Those 3 different kind of situations can occur and with a complex fraction. But you just have to recognize what is numerator, what is denominator. So for me, I recognize what is numerator, what's denominator. And what is numerator here, do you see this line is a little bit longer? That means that separate the numerator and denominator. So I can actually do a parenthesis on those 2 terms and say, hey, that is my numerator and that's my denominator. That parenthesis is very important because every fraction has its own parentheses. That means on the numerator and denominator has its own parentheses. Are we okay there?
Yes.
So how do I draw the parentheses on this one? How do I know it's 3 over 2 over 6 or 3 over 2 over 6?
Make the 6 a fraction.
Well, you look at a line, right? This line's longer. That means, where is the fraction? 3 over 2 is a fraction, right? And the 6 is a fraction, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing on the next one is the numerator is only in the whole number, and then this one is here. Are we okay here? Okay. So now that's going to be 3 over 5 divided by 2 over 5, and that's equal to 3 over 5 times 5 over 2. And that can simplify to 1, 1, that's 3 over 2. That's something we can do. In the past, we did this first week. So this is 3 over 2 divided by 6. That's also 3 over 2 times 1 over 6, which is simplify 1 and 2. So that's 1 over 4. So that's very easy to simplify. Here we got 5 divided by 2 over 15. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it'll be 5 times 15 over 2. That makes 75 over 2. So that was somewhat easy. Now, what will be the next case can happen? So what if the next case can happen is, what if I deal with variables? And what do I do? The variable is not hard. You just have to know how to deal with them. So we're gonna deal with this question. We're gonna start with this question. It says phi over a plus b over a over a squared, sorry. Phi a over b squared plus 1 over b. So we have this question, looks very complicated, but it's not, because we deal with something like the situation before. It's that we deal with a number. Next time we deal with variables, and you guys, oh, this is something I did not see before. We have this on first quiz, we have this on first test, but just in terms of numbers, it's like 5 over 2 plus 3 over 8 plus even a mixed number, even a whole number here. Then you say, oh, also I don't know how to do this. Now, where's my parentheses?
Between 5 and 8 plus b over a.
There's one parenthesis there, but I need to see a bigger one. Do you see the bigger parenthesis here? What is the biggest numerator you can find here? I mean, as far as in term goes.
5a.
Do you see this?
Yes.
Now, that makes one thing for sure. A lot of you guys have this urge to simplify phi over a over phi a over b, but that's wrong. You cannot simplify the numerator and denominator in this case because the parenthesis tells me what do I have to do first. You have to add them first. You have to add them first. You cannot divide this by this. I know sometimes you have the urge to canceling stuff or to do something not right mathematically, but make sure you put down a parenthesis. But what does that parenthesis mean? Don't just say that's parenthesis there, Mr. Ye say so, I'm still go ahead and divide this by this. No. A parenthesis told me those two should add together first. Can we add those two things together? No? Not right now. So what's the least common denominator between a squared and a? A squared. We talk about pick a higher power, right? If they're same, pick a higher power. So a squared, that means a times a. So what do I need on this side? Not a squared, no. A, right? So we're gonna write in red in the green. So that's gonna be a over a. Are we okay here? Now what do I need on this side? B over B on the second one, right? Yes.
Why'd you put 10 next to the 5?
What did I put? What?
Is that a 10 or a?
A.
Oh, okay.
Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so now, do they have a same denominator?
Yes.
Can I add them? Do I want to divide them? No, no divide, because the parentheses told me here first, right? And then that's equal to what? A squared on the bottom, and that's going to be 5a plus b over 5a plus b, which sounds very familiar, which is that's good. Because you're going to see a lot of things happen. Now, do we see the numerator and denominator? Yes, we see this, right? So that just means now I can divide now because we already simplified the numerator, we are simplified the denominator, we can work. We can say, okay, well, that's equal to 5a plus b over a squared divided by 5a plus b over b squared. How many of you guys are lost? I just divide this divided by this, that's it. Do I like division?
No.
Change to what?
Multiplication.
How do I like keep, change, flip, right? So I'm gonna get 5a plus b over a squared times by b squared over 5a plus b. And we can say this is a parenthesis, right? And what do you see? That's something I can simplify. 5a plus b, boom, it's done. Nice answer. B squared and a squared does not simplify. You can write it this or b over a squared, because that square can distribute inside. That either one is fine. Are we okay here? We're gonna give you a question and ask you to simplify this. Also, you had to pay attention to difference of a square. I don't know how many times I already told you difference of a square. I'm kind of getting sick and tired of saying the difference of square, but it does happen all the time, so you had to pay attention. So we're gonna give you a question like this one and see if you can simplify. This question is one of the, like my favorite question, 2 over x plus 3 over 4 over x squared minus 9. So you put down your own parentheses because you can decide order operations. What is the numerator, what's the denominator? Make sure you do the first parenthesis correctly. And why don't you try this problem? When I say 3, also means 3 over what?
1.
I'm saying, so those are the things I, make sure you put a parenthesis first, because parenthesis gonna tell me where's order operation gonna go happen first. I want you to try this question. Also, you done? First thing, recognize what a parenthesis is. Please put down a parenthesis, okay? Did you do that parenthesis? Okay. That tells me what? Divide first or adding, subtracting first? Adding, subtracting. So that sounds good. And then later on, just have to learn how to simplify. So this is a very simplified, easy simplified fractions. If you did it right, should I give you an answer first? No, not yet. Aaron, you are done? You got it done? Samantha, you are done? Also, you are done? You? Done? Yeah. That's perfect. You're done? No, that actually doesn't start here. That actually sounds important. Or maybe there's a mall somewhere. That'd be crazy.
It's probably a virus now, that's all.
No, there's no. You should get an answer x over 2 minus 3x, I think. Yeah? Yeah, did you get there?
Yeah, I thought I was wrong.
Let me see. You didn't get there.
No, I didn't.
No, not yet. No, it's not there.
Whoops.
It's almost there. Now, if you're on the right track, if you know what you're doing, I can introduce your next question. Can I erase this or no? People say that cannot erase that. So 5x to the negative 1. To y to the negative 1. 25x to the negative 2 minus 4y to the negative 2. So that's the next question. Now, for those of you guys who want to start, before you start something, I want you to pay attention to that negative 1 power. What's the negative 1 power do? What is it? Okay, so this one, right? So if I have this, everything's recorded, so if you want to go back to watch it, that's fine. So one thing you guys have to make sure, if I have 5 to the negative 1, that does not give me negative 5. That's what? 1 over 5. You need to know that. You put it in a fraction, put a on numerator, denominator become positive. How about 5x to the negative 1? Now what's the difference between this though? I want you guys knowing this 2 difference. So 5x to the negative 1 versus 5x parentheses to the negative 1 power. So pay attention to those. If I want to simplify those, what am I going to get? And are they different or are they the same?
They're different.
Different. How different? Can you tell me 5x to the negative 1? If I were to simplify, what would it be?
1 over 5. 1 over 5x.
1 over 5x, which is what? Because x to the negative 1 power. Only the x is going to down, not the 5. Does that make sense? So therefore, that's going to be, so some people say it's 5 times 1 over x, so that's equal to 5 over x. But this one is different, right? What is this one? 1 over 5x. Why is that? Because that negative 1 is going to go inside, right? And that's equal to 1 over 5 times 1 over x. So that's equal to 1 over 5x, because the whole thing goes to the negative 1 power. So you have to be careful that exponential rule. Now you have this question, you should start by looking at those. But let's start going over this one. Some of you guys are finished, you can go out to start this one. But pay attention, you know this, because some homework is going to be parentheses, some homework is going to be no parentheses. You have to decide what is going to denominator. So what I need on this one? X over x, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
X squared over x squared. So then you want to have x, 2 plus 3x, over 4 minus 9x squared, over x squared. So it'll be 2 plus 3x over x, divided by 4 minus 9x squared, over x squared. Am I losing anybody? So 2 plus 3x over x times by x squared over 2 minus 3x, 2 plus 3x. How often you guys see the difference of a square? Almost every single day. On SAT, you're going to see 2 or 3 questions out there. Simplify here, because that's a parenthesis. Simplify the 2 and 1, so that you're left with the x over 2 minus 3x. Or you can say negative x over 3x minus 2. You can factor a negative sign and put on the numerator. Either one is acceptable. Now this one's kind of hard. How much time I have? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have 5 minutes to do this question. I'll go over 3 different ways in the same questions. There's 3 ways to do this. The first way is the most foundational, you're not gonna make mistake. But there are 2 other ways I challenge you to think about because, well, the second way you might not know how to do it. The third way you might know how to do it. Because you might can think of a different way to do the same problem. So 5x to the negative 1 power minus 2y to the negative 1 power. Make sure there's no parentheses there. That means what goes on the denominator. You gotta make sure you know how to do that first. Not 1 over 5x though, okay? So think about what's the negative 1 power is applying to which variables. That's something that you guys need to pay attention to those details when you're doing this kind of stuff. You need a common denominator. Carry, you done? You're fast. Slow down. Some of your homework question might have this. You got 2 minutes before I go over it. I'm gonna go over the same question to show you a lot of trick about those 3 ways. The first way is probably the most easiest way because you can just follow what we do before and you're always gonna get a correct answer. The second way and third way is more like a risky. The second way doesn't happen all the time. The third way is actually one of the shortest cut to do the problem, but it's very dangerous for people to do it. So you ought to think about whether you can do it or not before you do it. So we're gonna show you all 3 ways. Is this understandable? Negative 1 power, x to the negative 1, not a 5. So only x go to the denominator. This both go to the denominator. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I might erase this part because you can watch it from the video because I'm gonna show you 3 ways to do this problem. Can I get a start now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that's my first thing as I write that to in term fractions. Do you guys do that?
Yes.
Are we okay here? Now I need a common denominator. What's common denominator between those 2? X, y, right? So I'm gonna use red. I'm gonna say this one is y over y. Nope, x over x. And this one's y over y. And this one is what? Oh, I forgot to put a parenthesis. Make sure parenthesis. And this one is what? Y squared over y squared. And this is x squared over x squared. Now the parentheses is right here. So that means I need to simplify that. So that's going to be xy. That's going to be 5y minus 2x all over 25y squared minus 4x squared over x squared y squared. That's equal to 5y minus 2x over xy divided by 25y squared. I usually skip this step, but I don't want to skip on a video. So I'm gonna rewrite it out. Times by x squared y squared over 5y plus 2x. Again, difference of square for the 50,000th time. This simplify. 1 over 2 simplify, 1 over 2 simplify, so you're left with the xy over 5y plus 2x. Okay. Do you guys got this? Or you know what you're doing? If you don't know what you're doing, you can go back to watch the video. I'm going to show you the second way to do the same problem and the third way to do the same problem. The second way is very innovative. It's actually one of the coolest tricks in complex fraction. So if I have this, 5 over x minus 2 over y, pay attention, okay? So 25. Now this is only, I think I will do it only if you have an A in this classroom, which is 2 or 3 of you guys. If you have a B in this classroom, you can try this because it's kind of risky to try. That if you don't know what you're doing, it's actually get the wrong answer. So I will actually prefer this way. The second method is really cool, however. The second method is looking at for LCD for the everything. X, y, x squared, y squared. What's the LCD between x, y, x squared, y squared? X squared, y squared, right? So we're gonna do that. We're gonna multiply x squared, y squared. But we're gonna multiply the top and the bottom. Okay? And this one will go to the top. So this one is go to here. And this one is going to here. Now you're gonna see something very cool here. Well, one of the x will simplify, right? You're left with the what?
5x y squared.
5x y squared, good. And then 1 y cancel out, it's gonna be 2x squared y, right? All over what? This one x squared cancel out, x squared times divided by x squared, that will cancel out. Left with the 25y
Squared.
y squared, and then this one's gonna be 4x squared, right? It comes like this. It's really nice. And what's nice is you just have to factor out GCF. What's GCF for the numerator? XY, good. And what do I have left? 5y minus 2x, right? 5y minus 2x and 5y plus 2x. And boom, boom, you got a beautiful answer that with way less steps. And this is really cool, but it has risky though. You have to know what's LCD between all 4 terms simultaneous and multiply top and bottom exactly the same time. Now the third way doesn't happen all the time. In this case it happened because if you pay attention to the third way here, that this is actually a difference of a square. For the 10th time I mentioned difference of a square. Do you see that it's difference of a square? Do you see that? So this is a third way you see this, that 5 over x minus 2 over y over 25x squared minus 4 over y squared. If you pay attention, this one is a squared, b squared, so that it should be 5 over x minus 2 over y equal to 5 over x minus 2 over y times by 5 over x plus 2 over y. Do you see that? And this will simplify, and you need a common denominator here. So you need an x over x and a y squared over y. So then that's equal to 1 over xy on the bottom. So it's going to be 5y plus 2x. So you flip over xy over 5y plus 2x. Which is also 3 steps, which just doesn't happen all the time. But there's a difference of square there, which makes your life a lot easier. But again, don't try this at home. Try this at home. Because this one is, I know for sure, everyone in this room can get it. This one, not entirely sure if anybody just understand what I say or don't understand what I say. But you're more welcome to go back and look at it.